everyone, and welcome to the Kreativators. I'm your host, Kathleen Johnson. This is where creativity meets activism, and we talk about social justice issues. We'll talk to everybody from painters, dancers, actors, and people really doing social justice work out there in the field, as well as academics and politicians. I hope you enjoy the many discussions we're going to have, and let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Kreativators podcast. My name is Kathleen Johnson, and with me today is the fabulous Maia Wallace.
Hi.
I've known Maia for about, a year now?
Yeah, not less.
Less.
But that's crazy because it feels like 5 years.
Yeah, it feels like a long time because we share a brain.
Yes. This is true. This is true.
So, tell everybody about your journey to Vancouver because you've lived in a lot of countries.
Yes.
And I tried to memorize them in order, but failed. So I will let you tell people all the places you've lived and how you came to Vancouver.
Yeah, so the simple short version of that story is my parents' profession was very globally led. So we always moved around, and the way the industry worked was that it was always high producing industries in developing areas or parts of the world that wouldn't be considered, let's say, the West or developed. That language always evolves. So I was born in the UK. My mom is Ghanaian British. My dad's British. But I was also raised by my other dad, my stepdad, who's Italian American. And he pretty much raised me as well. And so I just had a very varied upbringing. And I had a lot of built-in perspectives and range of perspectives and diversity within my family. And I was also the oldest daughter, the firstborn, like biracial on our sides of the family. So I just feel like I had a unique setup within my life, like in England, before I ever knew that we were gonna live internationally, because that wasn't kind of embedded in my early ages of childhood. It was probably 7 onwards that I started to go to international private schools and get that kind of exposure. But before that, it was really mundane and like a normal life. And my mom would like always bring us to Ghana even before I knew I would ever move there. So I guess like a lot of things were ingrained. I think I would have still had some values the same way, just because of how my mother parented me, because she's just very like, I think she always had a well-rounded approach, which now is like considered way more intentional parenting, whether it's about your roots or your culture and values and such. But I think living in Ghana was my foundation and how I built my confidence, where I found my creative passions in Ghana. And I lived in England, moved to Ghana when I was 7 years old, left when I was 14, into a blended family, moved to a country I never heard of called Bangladesh, like as a 13, 14-year-old. Lived there for about a year, had a crazy experience there, had a very intense year there. It was my freshman year of high school. A lot of transitions in my family on both sides. My parents separated when I was like 9 years old. So there was just a lot going on. And the only person who had my experience is my brother. And we're very lucky because most kids who move around like that, they're not born in the same place and they don't graduate the same high school, but we have that. Like usually it's so different for each child. And so that's what I feel like he's the only one who's like had the same or at least similar experience, even though ours turned out to be very different now as adults when we talk about it. And then I moved to Vietnam after a year. of my freshman year. So I moved to Vietnam when I was 15, graduated high school there, ended up in Vancouver for university. And the culture that I came from, this concept called third culture kid, was like any Western country, like Europe, Australia, North America, were kind of seen as like the places to do your higher education. Mm-hmm. And I did something called the IB, the International Baccalaureate, which is a global standard, like very niche. In my opinion, it's very like, it's it's considered the most challenging form of like high school education you can do in those last 2 years of your 11th and 12th grade year.
Yeah.
And it's transferable to any global system in the world, even if you do your post-secondary in Asia, which is like, Asia is quite specific academically. So doing that just allowed me to be very well-versed very early, I think, and I'm really happy I did it. And there's a lot of people who have my experience. It's like a niche world, the international students of the world.
Yeah.
They're all connected. I've met people here who know people in another country that I used to live in, like so many stories of that. So that was what was nice about UBC and like doing my time there. And now I'm in the world and I'm living here in Vancouver. And like, yeah, I've been here for 7 years. So yeah, it's a while.
So you're Vancouverite now.
No. Yes, but no. I feel like I always wanted somewhere that I knew. Like I never had a city that I knew. Like I just don't have I know England really well because my family's literally scattered like north to south, literally. And that's also that's what I mean. It's diverse within itself because even if I didn't move, like my experience would still be all over England. You know what I mean? So there's no compact version of a story in my family dynamics or in my own like, journey, I guess. And neither for any family member. Like they also are scattered, have their own range and randomness. So I just feel like it's just what I've always attracted.
Yeah.
And so now to be called a Vancouverite, I feel like it rubs me the wrong way because nobody likes Vancouver. But I do like Vancouver. And
that's very typical of Canada. Nobody likes the city they live in.
Yeah, like that's the culture here. But I do like Vancouver. I don't know if I don't see forever in a place though. And I'm not attached to, at least for me, I'm not attached to really a physical space.
Yeah.
I'm really not. Like I really don't. I'm very out of sight, out of mind. It's really people, things, like belongings. Like that's where I find the tangible material experience. Spaces, like not really. Yeah.
I can totally relate to that because I've lived in different cities in Canada.
Yeah, you've moved a lot in Canada.
Yeah. And I heard somebody say, home is wherever I happen to be. Yeah. And that's how I feel, Other people, they don't see it that way. Yeah. And they're like, well, why are you here and then there and then over there? Like, just stay in one place. Yeah. And it's not for me.
It doesn't even happen.
Yeah.
Like after a while, once you tap into that, like, I don't know what it is, but the thing with traveling and locations, there's like a vibe. I don't want to sound too like, but there's a vibration. Like, I swear it just happens. It just happens because even living in Vancouver, I think the last 2 years I've traveled so much and like been in and out. Like, there's just a vibration. You just get pulled to all these places. And I think that's the best thing about being disconnected from where you are. Like, yeah, it's very freeing.
Citizen of the world.
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
So, you've had this amazing journey up to this point in your life.
Yes.
You go to UBC.
Yeah.
And you start some pretty pioneering social action.
Yes.
And so what was that like? And tell us exactly what that was.
Yeah, it's so powerful to me just on a personal level because I remember my 18-year-old self and I remember being in that room and learning about really, the thing about North American culture, and I do say North American because I do think Canada and the US are connected in that way, you're living in these neo-Western bubbles is how I see it when you're in that environment. Because I am born in the UK, like I am a Western citizen person, I've always had that exposure. So even though I identify as being African, like it's very, I don't want to say this to invalidate myself because I'm definitely very African, but like it's quite watered down, right? And I just remember sitting in my lecture hall. I was in a program that basically studied all the humanities. So I took every humanity class, like history, psychology. Actually, no, I took everything except psychology because I just wasn't interested in it. Excuse me. And I remember sitting in Soci 100, which was like this year-long course with a professor who made a huge impact on me, a very free-spirited woman. And it was, Martin Luther King, which they love to quote here, things saying the most oppressed person in America is the Black woman. And we talked about narratives, and that's really an interesting thing for me to unpack in a completely different way now being here in 2025, at the end of 2025. But it was like the most oppressed, discarded, disrespected, right, is the Black woman. And to learn about all these negative stereotypes, negative narratives that were really systemically introduced from, the 70s onward in this modern context. I think post-civil rights, you can see the concept of a mammy or like a this or that. And not saying they didn't exist before, but they got really implemented in our modern culture, in my opinion, from that point onwards, because that's where we see this like modern capitalist like hustle where like, okay, you're not explicitly restricted or segregated or removed in these ways, but the system has bound you, or you've inherited struggle that's just from surviving decades of whatever. And I always understood that, but to sit there was really the culture clash for me because I did not grow up around unsuccessful Black people, truthfully. I didn't grow up around uneducated Black people. I didn't grow up around the boys in my middle school weren't in this pipeline to like gang culture, like all these things that we learn, which is interesting now because I have friends who have those experiences. And I never thought I was removed from those experiences because I also had my own struggle experiences in my own childhood, and also just from adults and aunts and uncles. I had a big range of class examples, I guess, in my families. So, that wasn't the surprise for me, but it was really like the inferior complex mindset that was really digested by Black youth in Canada. And I think it was through African immigrants who moved here maybe at a younger age, who were maybe from Calgary or Alberta. So they had much more of a Black presence in their community, but still very conservative areas, rejected that. And so, to put it simply, that stung me in a different way. And I was very much, there was one poli-sci professor that I had, and he picked up on me immediately and put me in third-year classes, like advanced classes, and just I had seen my boldness, which I think was considered a skill in places like UBC, but for me was my automatic entitlement, because I was raised with such a level of self-entitlement that it wasn't really seen as an activist trait for myself. So when I was there at the end of August, by October, I was in a music club. That was the first club I joined. It was called Blank Vinyl Project, BVP, and shout out to them. And I met one girl called Sydney. Shout out to her as well. There, and she's like, look, and these were all people above my age as well, which is also a pattern in my experience. They're like 2 years above me, and there's no Black people, no Black presence on the campus. They're like, look, you have to come to the first BSU meeting that we're doing. We're starting this club, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. Walk into the room, there's like 50, 60 Black people, and I'm like the youngest one there. Because like no first years, I guess, were connected 2 months into their student year. And that's literally, and I said the speech that I just said to you, like, and the definition of racism in that speech. And I was able to gather 50, 60, 70 first years, and they made a majority shareholder of that club, which now that activism has a huge, Black student space for active students of all levels at UBC right now. And we have a Black VP, and like we have voices heard. And even though the administration itself, I wouldn't say is completely fluid, we've just come a long way in like the 7 years, and that I ended up being first year rep, VP external. Then I was president in COVID 2020 of the Black Student Union. And that's where the labor for DEI really started for me. Yeah. So it's a crazy, like, natural flow for real. And I just did so many groups. Like, I was in so many activist groups, which I may or may not mention, but very popular ones that really were the voice of 2020 as well. So it's crazy.
Yeah, I think we owe, us in this field, I think we owe a lot to George Floyd, rest in peace, and that whole situation. And then we saw a lot of Indigenous movements follow almost like immediately after that.
100%.
Because there's such a synchronicity of experience there.
100%, especially in Canada.
Yeah, for sure. And so you mentioned singing.
Yes.
And I know that I've listened to your music.
Yes.
And I love it. And so you have all of this personality, and then you listen to your music and it's so chill.
Yes. That's so funny. Yeah. It's very it's very peaceful and beautiful and like delicate. Yeah.
Yeah. I just love that contrast with like the Maia that I know that's like bubbly, and then you listen to your music and it's like this
not
whole
many
vibe.
people catch on the contrast.
Yeah.
Because I guess they're just used to my personality. I don't know. Yeah, music is like, it's my ideal state, what I'm making, whether it's a positive or a negative message. It just vibrates nicely. Like, it's digestible. Like, I wish every bad feeling could just sound like that or feel like that and be smooth. And I think that's what I do. Or that's what it's developed into unintentionally as I like discovered my sound over the last couple years. Yeah.
So you have a session after this.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So very active in the studio.
I write a lot. Yeah.
What projects do you have coming up?
I have like my best work coming next year. I've worked so hard this year with my music. Like, it's so funny how God works, because there's so many, I shouldn't have done music this year. Like, I shouldn't have been able to get anything done. I shouldn't have been able to have a budget to get anything done. I shouldn't have been able to look as good and handle it out like externally as well as I did. Like, music just finds me, and like I think I'm in love with music. Music is the only thing that really makes me feel sane and heard and seen. And like I think what's undeniable for me is my love for the craft itself. That's really what keeps me here. And it's the only thing I used to say when I would do other interviews of like, it's the only thing that came from me, like in my life. Like, nobody told me to do it. No one, it was just what I found as a child. And I do have the same childhood dreams. Like, that hasn't really altered for me. And I learned over the years, like, that process and that journey will look different as I age and as real life hits, but nothing's been able to remove that out of my life. And I'm lucky to have a really good core group of people who just believe in me or have believed in me, or even just enabled me to keep going. And I think this year music was there. It was the first thing I did after every, bad piece of news I had. Like, I just went straight to the studio and like did something with myself. And I think that that's like how I'm wired. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's such an incredible way of processing your emotions and what you're going through.
Yeah.
And So with that and doing diversity, equity, and inclusion work, I remember when we started working together, you're like, I never put these two things together, the creative side
Never.
and doing equity work. So
Never.
How is that fusion been? Does it still feel weird?
It feels weird because I didn't have time to process it. And honestly, this sounds really bad to say, but like it didn't feel significant. Like, because I didn't have time this year in my personal life with everything I was dealing with. I didn't have time or space to be like, this is exciting. You know, it was actually something that just felt so organic. And I was like, oh, this is so like-minded. And I think us linking in February and just like, it was just such a delicate time for me because of DEI. Like DEI really catapulted out of the window, like shattered the glass, like, and I was left picking up the pieces. So to do these projects that valued the skill set that DEI has and knowledge that DEI has given me, but to do it in such a creative way, which is like something, you know, you'll never get credited for as an independent artist. You'll never get credited for all the skills you gain from those endeavors. So it's really interesting to me to see that attention to detail, like the flow, like a lot of project management skills, like, you know, just creative direction. I feel really passionately about implementing all of that in a strategic, knowledge-based way is the core. And for me, DEI, the theory always kept me sharp because I just feel like I was always in tune with the core message. Because DEI does get, it is subjective in a lot of ways as well, but it's super fluid. But I really believe that there's a foundational truth that exists regardless of the evolution of, you know, language terms and, you know, the right to express yourself as that evolves. I think creativity allows a room outside of the structure of things and outside of the, you know, very corporatized industry that we live in. And I think that that's where DEI experts and specialists get lost in a lot. And I think that that's why you really resonated with me, because you're not lost in that. You really know those distinctions. And I think that's the creative side. That's what keeps you liberated. And it keeps you fresh and it keeps you really fluid and like in tune. And I just feel like the two combined, it seems really organic, but it's just nothing I ever thought of. And it feels like my sweet spot a little bit. So I'm grateful, and I just feel like those seeds planted, I hope 2, 3, 4, 5 years like from now, it really develops a unique perspective in my life.
Yeah, I mean, I think I really appreciate your work on the workbook. To go with my book.
Yes.
And I'm very excited to be able to test that in the new year. And I think as many opportunities that people can get off a PowerPoint and get in community with each other in physical space and really feel what these things are in their bodies, I think is so important. Okay, so sad to say, our time is coming to an end.
It's okay.
Is there anything that you want to share that is, like you said, you're excited for next year? So is there anything that you want to share, a current project that's coming up?
There's no names that I can share, but it's my best work yet. And it's very sentimental. It's very feminine. It's very emotional. And, you know, I always say, like, I feel like I was brought into the world to express myself, whatever that is. So, yeah, it's just a raw expression. And
so where can people find you?
Everyone can find me on Instagram at maia.ll. Everything is in my bio. They're linked. Music, I'm just Maia, Maia, and DEI Maia Wallace. So, yeah, that's the difference, I guess. The Wallace kind of makes it professional. So, yeah, and like hopefully DEI is like there's a future for it there too. So I feel like that's what I'll say about next year. And like, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for partnering with me in the work that I'm doing.
Of course. It's so fun and healing.
It definitely is. Yeah, it definitely is. And I just wanted to, wish you all the best in the new year, because I can't keep up with where you might be doing what. So I'm just going to say good luck.
I'm so done. I know, it's a roller coaster, and like I pray for like steadiness, but growth and change and variety and like healing. I don't know. I think next year will just be a change. So I'm excited. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited for you. And I have a front row seat to it. So
yes, you do.
It's awesome. And that's Maia Wallace, everybody. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us. And if you liked that episode, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. And feel free to pick up my book, Thinking Outside the Boardroom, Creative Solutions in Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Anti-Racism, available on Amazon and everywhere else books are sold.